Okay, let's unpack this. I have a mission for us today. I need you to mentally walk with me down the skincare aisle of a Sephora or an Ulta, or honestly, just open your TikTok feed for 5 minutes.
I know exactly where you're going with this. It is overwhelming right now.
It is beyond overwhelming. It feels like I'm seeing double. For the longest time, if you wanted the big gun vitamin C serum, you knew exactly what you were looking for.
Hmm.
It was that one specific bottle, usually locked behind a glass case because it cost as much as a monthly car payment.
The legendary Skinceuticals CE Ferulic.
Exactly, the untouchable queen bee of the skincare world. But lately,
Yeah.
I look around and I see clones everywhere.
Yeah.
There is this sudden explosion of serums that look suspiciously familiar. Same little brown bottle, same dropper, same list of key ingredients, but for like a fraction of the price.
And they're not subtle about it.
Not at all. They are practically screaming dupe right to our faces.
You are definitely not imagining things. The market has been absolutely flooded recently.
So my question, and the reason we are doing this deep dive today, is simple. Why now? Did everyone just wake up in 2025 and decide to copy this specific homework assignment? Or is there something bigger going on here?
It is definitely not a coincidence. This isn't just a trend where one brand did something cool and everyone followed. This is actually the result of a massive legal milestone. You are seeing the physical aftershocks of a patent expiration.
A patent expiration. So this isn't just a beauty trend, it's a legal drama.
Precisely. And we've pulled together the patent filings, the legal history, the chemical analysis to explain this. What we are seeing on the shelves right now is the direct aftermath of a very specific event, the expiration of the primary U.S. patent for that iconic CE Ferulic formula, which happened in early 2025.
So the timer finally ran out.
The timer ran out. For nearly 2 decades, that patent was effectively a force field. It gave Skinceuticals a monopoly on a specific high-performance chemistry. Now, the force field is down.
And the barbarians are at the gate?
Or at least the competitors are on the shelf.
So today, we are diving deep into what I'm calling the Great Vitamin C Liberation. We need to understand why this one serum was the gold standard for so long, the actual science that made it so hard to copy, and the Wild West era we were living in before 2025.
And perhaps most importantly, for anyone listening who is thinking about saving $100, we need to apply a serious reality check to this new wave of products. Because now that the floodgates are open, we have to answer the big question. Does a legally identical ingredient list actually mean you're getting the identical result on your face?
That is the million-dollar question, or I guess the $180 question. So let's rewind. Set the scene for us before 2025. Just how dominant was this product?
It's hard to overstate it. In the world of dermatology and beauty editing, Skinceuticals CE Ferulic sat in a category of 1. It was the default recommendation. If you went to a dermatologist and said, I want to brighten my skin and protect it from pollution, they pointed to that bottle.
Even with that price tag, because that price tag was steep.
Even with the price tag. It was widely considered the only one that guaranteed delivery of the goods. And because of that, it became a status symbol. But there was always this friction, right? Consumers would Google, is it worth it? Millions of times a year.
I have been that person Googling it at 2 in the morning, and the answer was usually yes, because the patent makes it better. But I never really understood why. I mean, I can buy vitamin C tablets at the grocery store for $5. I can buy orange juice. What was the secret sauce here that required government protection?
To understand the patent, you have to understand the bully that is vitamin C. It is a notoriously difficult ingredient to work with.
Difficult how? Like it doesn't want to mix with other stuff.
It's unstable. I like to use the sliced apple analogy to explain this. You know how if you slice an apple and leave it on the counter for 20 minutes, it turns brown?
Yeah, it looks gross pretty fast.
That is oxidation. The oxygen in the air is reacting with the fruit. Vitamin C, specifically the pure form, L-ascorbic acid, behaves exactly the same way. It wants to oxidize. The second it touches air, light, or water, it starts to degrade. It turns brown, and more importantly, it becomes useless for your skin. It might even become pro-oxidant, meaning it could actually cause damage.
Wait, hold on. So if I use a spoiled vitamin C serum, I'm not just wasting money, I might be actively hurting my skin.
Potentially, yes.
Yeah.
It's certainly not helping. So for decades, the problem wasn't how do we find vitamin C? The problem was how do we keep it from dying in the bottle before the customer can use it?
And that's what Skinceuticals figured out.
That was the breakthrough. The secret sauce that was protected by law wasn't just the ingredients. It was the specific environment those ingredients lived in. They patented a very rigid set of parameters.
Break down the recipe for us. What were they cooking up?
Okay, so you have the holy trinity of ingredients. 50% pure L-ascorbic acid, which is the vitamin C, 1% alpha-tocopherol, that's vitamin E, and 0.5% ferulic acid.
Ferulic acid sounds like something that would burn my face off.
It sounds intense, but it's actually an antioxidant found in plant cell walls. And here's the magic trick. Ferulic acid stabilizes vitamin C. It acts like a bodyguard. It doubles the photoprotection performance.
Okay, so C plus E plus ferulic equals magic.
Yes, but, and this is the big but, only if the pH is right. The patent specified that this combination had to be formulated at a low pH, specifically between 2.0 and 3.5.
That's very acidic.
It is. But that acidity is necessary for two reasons. One, it helps keep the molecule stable. Two, L-ascorbic acid can't penetrate the skin barrier unless the pH is low. If the pH is too high, it just sits on top of your face and does nothing.
So they patented the specific ratio and the specific acidity level.
Exactly. They patented the single stabilized solution. It was a masterpiece of chemical engineering. And because the U.S. government agreed that this method was novel and non-obvious, they granted them a patent.
Which essentially built a moat around the castle.
A very wide, very deep, shark-infested moat. For 20 years, if you were a competitor, you could look at the castle, you could see how they built it, but you were legally forbidden from building one just like it.
That is wild to think about. We usually think of patents for like iPhone tech or new pharmaceuticals, but this was a recipe for a liquid.
It shows just how valuable cosmetic chemistry can be. And this patent shaped the entire skincare market. Think about the products you saw on the shelf before 2025.
I remember seeing a lot of things that claimed to be vitamin C.
Right, but brands had to do the patent dance. They had to get creative to avoid getting sued. So you saw two main strategies. Strategy one, avoid ferulic acid.
Just leave the bodyguard out.
Exactly. You'd see vitamin C and vitamin E, but no ferulic. Or maybe they'd swap it for a different antioxidant that wasn't as effective. The result was a serum that just wasn't as stable or powerful.
And strategy two?
Strategy two was to avoid pure L-ascorbic acid entirely. This gave rise to the era of derivatives.
Oh, I know this era. This is when ingredients started having names with 30 syllables. Tetrahexyldicyl ascorbate.
Exactly. Magnesium ascorbyl phosphate, sodium ascorbyl phosphate. These are derivatives. They're much more stable. You can leave them on the counter and they won't turn brown. They're easier to formulate.
I sense a but.
They aren't the pure stuff. Your skin has to convert them into L-ascorbic acid before it can use them. It's an inefficient process. It's like buying a flat-pack piece of furniture. You have to build it before you can use it. Pure L-ascorbic acid is a pre-built chair. You just sit down.
So we spent 20 years buying flat-pack furniture because the pre-built chair was legally off limits to everyone except one company.
That is a fantastic analogy. Yes, brands were terrified of getting too close to the real thing.
Was it just paranoia, or were they actually getting sued?
Oh, the threat was real. The industry was watching very closely. There were legal flashpoints that sent a chill down everyone's spine. The most famous one involved L'Oreal.
Who owns Skinceuticals?
Right. L'Oreal is the parent company. They got into a very high-profile dispute with Drink Elephant over their C-Firma serum.
I remember C-Firma. It was the orange one. It was super popular.
It was. And it was very close to the Skinceuticals formula. L'Oreal alleged patent infringement. Now, we have to be clear here. That dispute ended in a dismissal and settlement. We never got a judge banging a gavel and saying guilty or innocent on the merits of the patent itself.
But usually settlements mean we agree to stop fighting, and often money changes hands or formulas get tweaked.
Exactly. We don't know the exact terms, but the message to the rest of the industry was loud and clear. Do not poke the bear. L'Oreal has deep pockets, and they will protect this asset. The legal costs alone of fighting a patent lawsuit can bankrupt a smaller indie brand.
So the patent was a deterrent. Even if you thought you could win, you couldn't afford to fight.
Correct. So you had the King Skinceuticals sitting comfortably on the throne, charging $180 because they had no direct competition for the exact same specs. And everyone else was dancing around the perimeter, selling derivatives and almost formulas.
Until early 2025.
Until the clock ran out.
Walk us through the mechanics of that. Does a patent just disappear?
Patents are a trade-off. The government grants you a temporary monopoly to reward you for your invention. In exchange, you have to publish exactly how you did it, so that when the patent expires, society can benefit from that knowledge. It's designed to end.
So in early 2025, the term of the primary U.S. patent ended.
And in that moment, Skinceuticals lost the legal right to stop other brands from using that specific formulation approach. They didn't lose their brand name, they didn't lose their trademark, but they lost the monopoly on the chemistry.
And the market reacted immediately.
It was like a dam breaking. Almost overnight, the marketing language changed. Before, brands used vague terms like brightening complex or inspired by. Suddenly, they were openly positioning themselves as direct alternatives.
I've seen brands literally use the word dupe in their Instagram ads. Why pay $180 when you can pay $35? That would have been a lawsuit waiting to happen 3 years ago.
It would have been a cease and desist letter on a silver platter. But now, the legal risk associated with the formula structure has vanished. Brands are free to replicate the Holy Trinity. They can use 15% L-ascorbic acid. They can use 1% vitamin E. They can use 0.5% ferulic acid. And crucially, they can drop that pH right down to the 2.5-3.0 range without fear.
So technically, the recipe is now public domain.
Effectively, yes.
Okay, so this is the part where the consumer in me gets really excited. My brain goes, great, the recipe is free. I can buy the $35 version, and it is going to be identical to the $180 version.
And that is the logical assumption.
But I'm looking at your notes here, and you have the words reality check underlined about 3 times. So I'm guessing it's not that simple.
It is not that simple. If you take one thing away from this deep dive, let it be this phrase. Similar does not mean equal.
Explain that. If the ingredients list on the back of the box is exactly the same word for word, how can the product be different?
Because a skincare product is more than just a list of ingredients. It is a result of a manufacturing process. You can have the same recipe, but if you have a different chef in a different kitchen, you get a different meal.
Yeah, I like food analogies. Keep going.
Let's go back to the oxidation issue, the brown apple. Just because a brand can legally mix vitamin C, E, and ferulic doesn't mean they are doing it in a facility that controls oxygen exposure.
So what happens in the factory matters.
Ideally, you want to manufacture this stuff in an inert environment, maybe under a nitrogen blanket, to keep oxygen away from the liquid while it's being mixed and bottled. That is expensive. It requires specialized equipment.
And Skinceuticals presumably has been perfecting that process for 20 years.
Exactly. If a budget brand is just mixing it in a standard vat and pumping it into bottles with normal air exposure, that serum might already be partially degraded before it even gets on the truck.
So you buy the dupe, you open it up, and it's already orange.
Or dark yellow. And remember, color is a sign of potency loss. So you might be buying a product that says 15% vitamin C on the label, but by the time it hits your face, it's effectively 5% because the rest is oxidized.
That's deceptive.
It's chemistry. Then you have the issue of raw material quality. Not all L-ascorbic acid is created equal.
Really? I thought a chemical was a chemical.
There are grades of purity. There are different suppliers. A luxury brand is likely sourcing pharmaceutical-grade ingredients with rigorous purity testing. A budget brand might be sourcing from a cheaper bulk supplier where the purity is 98% instead of 99.9%.
And those impurities can cause irritation. Exactly.
Huh.
Or instability. It's like the difference between Belgian chocolate and the waxy stuff in a cheap advent calendar. Technically, they're both chocolate, but the experience is very different.
And the results.
And the results. We also have to talk about pH precision.
Right, the sweet spot we talked about earlier.
Maintaining a pH of exactly 2.5 across a batch of 10,000 gallons requires strict quality control. If a brand is a little sloppy and the batch comes out at pH 3.8, the product won't penetrate. If it comes out at pH 1.5, it's going to burn your face.
So when we pay the luxury tax for the big brand, we aren't just paying for the marketing, we are paying for the quality assurance. We are paying for the certainty that every bottle is the same.
That's a huge part of it. And finally, there is the packaging. This is my personal pet peeve with some of the new dupes.
The bottles.
Yes. Remember, light and air are the enemies. Skinceuticals uses a dark glass bottle to block light, but they use a dropper. Honestly, even droppers aren't ideal because every time you open it, you let air in.
But some of these new affordable brands are putting this unstable formula in clear bottles or plastic bottles that aren't airtight. You might save $100 on the serum, but if the pump lets air in, that product is going to spoil twice as fast.
So the takeaway here is that while the legal barrier is gone, the technical barrier is still very high.
It's a high-wire act. Just because you can copy the formula doesn't mean you have the expertise or the equipment to execute it perfectly.
So it's not a total free-for-all where I can just start a company in my garage, mix up some orange powder, and call it Skinceuticals 2.0.
Definitely not. There are still guardrails. The brand name Skinceuticals is a trademark. You can't touch that.
And I assume I can't make the bottle look exactly the same.
That falls under trade dress. If you copy the font, the colors, the layout so closely that a consumer grabs your bottle thinking it's the original, that is trademark infringement. You will get sued for that.
So no counterfeits.
No counterfeits. And brands have to be careful about their claims. They can't say identical to CE for Ferulic unless they have the clinical data to back that up head-to-head testing. And that testing is expensive. So most brands will just say compare to or alternative to.
Okay, so zooming out, what does this actually mean for the person listening right now? Is this good news? Bad news?
Oh, I think it's overwhelmingly good news.
Even with the risk of bad dupes?
Yes, because competition is healthy. The patent expiration forces the market to correct itself. It explains why there are suddenly more credible options at different price points. We aren't just seeing cheap knockoffs. We are seeing well-respected mid-tier brands launching their own versions of this formula.
Brands that actually have good labs and quality control.
Exactly. Maybe they sell it for $80 instead of $180. That's a win for the consumer. It forces the whole market to level up.
And in a weird way, it kind of validates the original, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. It doesn't diminish what made CE Ferulic important. In fact, it highlights just how influential it was. The fact that 20 years later, the entire industry rushed to copy it the second they were allowed to, that proves it was a masterpiece.
It's the circle of innovation.
It is. A breakthrough sets a standard. The patent protects the inventor so they can recoup their R&D costs. That's the deal. But eventually, the protection ends, and the technology becomes accessible to everyone.
And now, nearly 20 years after Skinceuticals changed the game, the rest of the class is finally allowed to copy their homework.
Ideally, though, they aren't just copying. Hopefully, this pushes the next wave of innovation.
What do you mean?
Well, now that everyone has the gold standard formula, how do you beat it? If every brand has a CE Ferulic dupe, Skinceuticals and everyone else needs to find the next breakthrough. Is there a better molecule, a better delivery system?
So if the baseline moves up, the ceiling has to move up too.
Exactly. Stagnation is the enemy. This forces the industry to stop resting on its laurels.
I love that. So, to recap our journey today, we went from a world where one serum reigned supreme behind a legal fortress to a post-2025 world where the walls have come down, the recipe is out there, the market is flooded.
But the laws of chemistry haven't changed. Making a stable vitamin C serum is still hard, and quality matters more than ever.
Which brings me to a final thought I want to leave everyone with. It's something I've been mulling over while listening to you explain the manufacturing risks.
What's that?
Well, for 20 years, we relied on the patent. The patent number on the box was like a guarantee. It told us this one is the real deal and everything else is a workaround. We effectively outsourced our trust to the legal system. We let the patent office tell us what was best.
That's a really fair way to put it. The patent was a signal of legitimacy.
But now, that guardrail is gone. The burden of proof has shifted to us, the consumers. We can't just look for the patent number anymore. We can't even just look at the ingredient list because, as you said, the list doesn't tell the whole story.
It demands a much more educated consumer, certainly.
It does. We have to be able to discern manufacturing quality from clever marketing. We have to look past the hype and ask about stability and packaging and oxidation.
It's a lot more homework for the buyer.
It is. And in a world of infinite copies, does the original still hold value simply because it was first? Or does it actually have to be better now to survive?
I think that is the challenge Skinceuticals faces. They can't just be the original anymore. They have to prove they're still the best in a crowded room.
It is a fascinating time to be a skincare nerd.
It certainly is. The monopoly is over, but the competition for quality is just getting started.
Well said. That's all the time we have for this deep dive into the vitamin C wars. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one.